Have you ever been hurt so deeply that even when the person is gone, the pain still lives inside you? Maybe they lied to you. Maybe they left you when you needed them most. Maybe they broke your trust, your confidence, or your heart. And now, even though days have passed, maybe months, maybe even years, they still live in your mind. You replay the words. And the hardest part is this: they may have hurt you once, but your mind keeps hurting you again and again. If that is where you are right now, this message is for you. Today I want to speak to the part of you that is tired, the part of you that wants peace but does not know how to stop holding on, the part of you that says, I know I should let go, but I do not know how. Letting go is not pretending nothing happened. It is not saying what they did was okay. It is not becoming cold, silent, or weak. Letting go means you stop making your wound your home. It means you stop building your identity around what someone did to you. It means you choose peace over attachment to pain. And that choice is not easy, because when someone hurts you deeply, it wraps itself around your pride, your memory, your self-worth, and your need for justice. A part of you wants to move on, but another part says, if I let go, it means they win. Listen carefully. Letting go is not their victory, it is yours. Because the day you stop carrying their poison inside your body, your thoughts, and your spirit. So, in this video, I want to guide you gently through that process, not with empty advice, not with cold words like, just move on, but with something deeper. We will look at why pain stays in the mind. We will talk about the difference between remembering and reliving. I will share a simple Zen story with you, and I will give you 4 clear psychological steps you can begin using today to let go of someone who hurt you. Take a slow breath. You do not need to rush this healing. You do not need to become okay in one night. But you can begin now, and sometimes healing begins not when life changes, but when you finally see your pain clearly. The first truth you must understand is this: you are not only attached to the person, you are attached to the story. This is why letting go feels so hard. Many people think they cannot let go because they still love the person. Sometimes that is true, but very often what keeps you stuck is not love. It is the story in your mind, the story that says, they should not have treated me like that. I trusted them. I did not deserve this. I need answers. I need them to understand what they did to me. And maybe all of that is true, but the mind has a strange habit. It believes that if it keeps repeating the story, it will finally find relief. It believes that replaying the hurt will create closure. But it usually does the opposite. It keeps the wound open. In psychology, rumination is when the mind goes over painful thoughts, again and again without solving them. It feels active, but it is not healing. It feels like thinking, but often it is emotional looping. You sit in silence, and the memory comes back. You hear a song, and your chest tightens. You see a message, a place, a date, and suddenly the pain feels fresh again. Why? Because the body does not always know the difference between a real event and a vividly remembered one. Your nervous system reacts to memory as if danger is still present. So every time you relive the moment with strong emotion, this is why you can be physically safe and still feel emotionally attacked. This is why some people leave your life, but continue living in your nervous system. And that is why letting go is not only emotional, it is physical, it is mental, it is spiritual. So the first step is not to force yourself to forget. The first step is to understand what is really. You are not crazy. You are not weak. Your mind is trying to protect you by replaying what happened. It thinks, if I keep remembering, I will never be hurt like that again. But healing begins when you gently teach the mind another truth. I do not need to keep suffering in order to stay safe. This is where many people get trapped. They confuse pain with loyalty to themselves. They think, if I stop hurting, it means I am minimizing what happened. But healing does not erase truth. You can fully admit what happened and still choose not to carry it every day. That is wisdom. And Zen begins here. Zen does not ask you to erase your pain. Zen asks you to stop. What happened. Happened. That is reality. It should not have happened. Maybe it was unfair. Maybe it was cruel. Maybe. But your suffering becomes deeper when you keep asking the past to become different. The mind says, this should not have happened. Your reality says, but it did. And peace begins when this does not mean approval. It means acceptance of fact. If a glass falls and breaks on the floor, you may cry, you may be angry, you may blame someone. But the glass is still broken. Healing begins when you stop shouting at the glass and start cleaning the floor. This is what many people avoid, not because they are foolish, but because pain sometimes feels easier than grief. Anger gives energy. Grief asks for surrender. Anger says, I will stay strong. Grief says, I am hurt. Anger points outward. Grief turns inward. And many people can stay angry for years because anger protects them from the deeper feeling underneath. Sadness, rejection, shame, disappointment, loneliness. So if you truly want to let go of someone who hurt you, you must become honest about what you are really carrying. Are you carrying anger? Or are you carrying heartbreak? Are you carrying betrayal? Or are you carrying the feeling that you were not enough? Are you missing them? Or are you missing the version of yourself you were before they hurt you? These are not small questions. These are healing questions. Sometimes the person who hurt you did not only take your trust in them, they damaged your trust in yourself. And that is why letting go feels so painful. Because now it is not just about them. How did I allow this? Why did I stay? Why was I not enough for them to love me well? Please hear me clearly. Someone hurting you is not proof that you were not enough. It is only proof that they were unable, unwilling, or unready to love with honesty, maturity, or care. Do not turn another person's limitation into a sentence against your worth. That is one of the deepest mistakes wounded people make. When someone lies, you call yourself foolish. When someone leaves, you call yourself unlovable. When someone betrays you, you call yourself weak. Number their action is not your identity. Their wound is not your definition. Their inability to treat you well is not evidence that you deserve pain. And yet, to heal, you must sometimes grieve not only the person, but also the dream you built around them. Because often, what breaks the heart is not only what happened, it is what could have been. You do not only miss the person, you miss the future you imagined, the conversations that never happened, the version of them you hoped would finally appear. And so part of letting go is releasing fantasy, releasing the hope that one more message, one more explanation, one more chance, one more day will finally turn them into who you needed them to be. This is painful, but it is also freeing, because every time you accept the truth of who they are instead of worshiping the hope of who they could be, you take your energy back. Now let me tell you a simple Zen story. A young monk came to his teacher and said, "Master, I cannot sleep. I am angry at a man who insulted me in the market. I keep hearing his words in my head. I want peace, but I cannot stop thinking about him." The old master looked at the monk and said, "Come with me." He led him to the garden at night. The moon was reflected in a small pond. The master picked up a dry leaf and dropped it into the water. "Do you see the moon?" he asked. "Yes," said the monk. Then the master took a stick and began stirring the water hard. The reflection of the moon broke into pieces. "Now do you see it?" "No," said the monk. "The water is disturbed." The master put down the stick and waited. Slowly the water became still again. The moon returned, clear and whole. Then the master said, "The moon did not break, only the water moved. Your peace is like that. The insult entered you for one moment, but your mind keeps stirring the water. The monk stood in silence. Then the master said, "Do not chase the moon. Let the water become still." This story is simple, but its truth is deep. When someone hurts you, pain enters your life. That is real. But much of long-term suffering comes from the mind stirring the event again and again. You imagine conversations. You create revenge. You defend yourself in your thoughts. You rehearse what you will say if you ever see them again. And in doing so, you keep the inner water disturbed. Peace does not return because the past changes. Peace returns because the mind becomes still enough to stop feeding the wound. So how do you do that in real life? How do you let the water settle? Let me give you 4 practical psychological steps. These are not magic tricks. They are daily practices. But if you use them honestly, they can begin changing your inner world. Tip number 1. Name the real wound, not just most people say, "I cannot get over what happened." But healing becomes stronger when you get more specific. What exactly hurt you? Was it betrayal, humiliation, rejection, abandonment, feeling used, feeling invisible, feeling foolish? There is a big difference between "my partner left me" and "I feel abandoned and replaceable." There is a big difference between "my friend lied to me" and "I feel stupid for trusting them." The event is outside you. The wound is inside you. And if you only focus on the event, you may stay trapped in blame. But when you identify the wound, you can begin healing the right pain. So take a notebook, or even speak out loud, and finish this sentence. What hurt me most was not only what they did. What hurt me most was that it made me feel. Then be honest. Maybe the answer is unimportant, not chosen, unsafe. This practice matters because your brain cannot calm what it has not clearly named. Emotional clarity reduces emotional chaos. When you name your wound, you stop drowning in a cloud of pain and begin seeing what needs care. And once you name it, ask the next question. Is this wound only about this person, or is it touching something older inside me? This is where deep healing begins. Sometimes a breakup is not only a breakup. It touches childhood abandonment. Sometimes a betrayal is not only a betrayal. It touches old shame. Sometimes rejection in the present wakes up rejection from long ago. And when that happens, your pain feels bigger because it is bigger. You are not only feeling today's loss, you are feeling many old losses at once. So be gentle with yourself. Your reaction may be intense, not because you are dramatic, but because the wound is layered. Naming it helps you stop blaming yourself for the depth of your pain. Tip number 2. Stop feeding the mental loop. Create boundaries for your mind. You cannot heal while reopening the wound every day. This may sound obvious, but many people do this without noticing. They check the person's social media. They reread old messages. They revisit pictures. They ask mutual friends for updates. They replay old arguments before sleep. They write long messages they never send. They search for clues, signs, or proof that the person regrets what they did. This is not healing. This is emotional self-injury. I say that with compassion, not judgment, because the mind thinks, if I look one more time, maybe I will understand, maybe I will feel better. But usually, you feel worse. In psychology, repeated exposure to emotional triggers without regulation can strengthen distress instead of reducing it. If every contact with their memory creates a new stress response, then your system never gets the message that the danger has passed. So you need boundaries, not only with them, but with your own habits. For some people, this means unfollowing, muting, blocking, deleting old threads, or removing reminders from the room. Not because you are weak, because you are healing. A wound needs air, but it also needs protection. If you keep touching a cut, it will not close. And mental boundaries matter too. When you catch yourself replaying the same story for the 10th time, do not attack yourself. Just interrupt the loop. You can say, I have already visited this thought. This memory is painful, but I do not need to live inside it now. I choose to return to this moment. Then bring your attention back to something real. Your breath, your feet on the floor. This is not avoidance. This is regulation. You are teaching the brain that it does not need to chase pain every time it appears. At first, you may have to do this many times a day. That is normal. A trained mind is not a mind that never hurts. It is a mind that knows how to return. Tip number 3. Separate forgiveness from reconciliation. This is many people stay stuck because they think letting go means they must welcome the person back, excuse what happened, or pretend there was no harm. You do not need to reconnect in order to heal. You do not need to trust them again in order to be a good person. You do not need to expose yourself to more pain in the name of peace. Forgiveness, in a healthy psychological sense, is often an internal release of chronic resentment. It means you stop drinking poison and hoping the other person suffers. It means you release the role of full-time judge in your own mind. It means you stop tying your nervous system to their behavior. But reconciliation is different. Reconciliation requires change, accountability, safety, and trust. And sometimes that is not possible. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is forgive internally and keep distance externally. This is not bitterness. This is mature discernment. A Zen heart can be open without being unprotected. A compassionate person can still have boundaries. So if a part of you is afraid to let go because you think it means allowing the same wound again, release that fear. You are allowed to say, I release the hatred, but I keep the lesson. I do not want revenge, but I also do not want repeated harm. I wish you no evil, but I no longer offer you access to me. Forgiveness without wisdom becomes self-abandonment. Wisdom without compassion becomes hardness. Healing asks for both. And sometimes the person who most needs your forgiveness is not even them. It is you. You may need to forgive yourself for staying too long, for ignoring signs, for begging for love, for trusting too quickly, for losing yourself, for not leaving sooner. Please remember, you made choices with the awareness, fear, hope, and emotional resources you had at that time. Your older self may judge your past self, but your healing self must learn to understand them. Do not become cruel to the version of you that was simply trying to be loved. Tip number 4. Build a new identity that is not organized around the wound. This is where true freedom begins. After deep hurt, many people do not know who they are without the pain. They become the betrayed one, the abandoned one, the rejected one, the one who was wronged. And yes, that may be part of your story, but it cannot be the center of your identity forever. Why? Because whatever sits at the center of identity shape. If your inner life is built around the injury, then even healing efforts can become another way of staying attached to the wound. So ask yourself, who am I becoming after this? Not, why did this happen? Not only, how could they do this? But what kind of human being do I want to become now? More peaceful, more boundaried, more honest, more self-respecting, more spiritually grounded, more emotionally awake. Pain can reduce you or refine you. That depends on what you do with it. One helpful psychological practice is future self-visualization. Take a quiet moment and imagine yourself 1 year from now. Not as a perfect person, not as someone who has forgotten, but as someone lighter, someone who sleeps better, someone who no longer checks for messages, someone who can hear their name without shaking, someone who has returned to their own life. Now ask, what does that version of me do every day? Maybe they walk each morning. Maybe they journal. Maybe they go to therapy. Maybe they pray. Maybe they spend time. Maybe they protect their energy. Maybe they speak to themselves with dignity. Healing grows through identity-based actions, not one dramatic moment, not one final cry, but repeated choices that say, I am no longer building my life around this pain. This also means giving your life new experiences. Pain shrinks the world. Healing must widen it again. Move your body. Sit in sunlight. Travel if you can. Create something. Learn something. Help someone. Rebuild your routines. Return to neglected parts of yourself. You are not replacing grief. You are reminding your nervous system that life is larger than the injury. No, let us go even deeper. There is another reason letting go feels hard. Sometimes pain gives you a strange connection to the person. As long as you are angry, thinking about them, imagining them, fighting them in your head, part of you is still in relationship with them. A painful relationship, yes, but still a relationship. And when you let go, there can be emptiness, silence, space. And many people fear that space because pain, at least, feels familiar. This is why some people unconsciously choose suffering over emptiness. But Zen teaches us that emptiness is not something to fear. It is space for truth, space for breath, space for life to begin again. The hand that clings cannot receive. The room that is full of old smoke cannot welcome fresh air. So yes, letting go may feel lonely for a while, because you are no longer feeding the bond through memory and emotional intensity. But that loneliness is often temporary. And beyond it, there is relief. There is clarity. There is self-respect. There is a quieter heart. There is also this truth. You do not heal by waiting for the other person to validate your pain. Many people stay trapped because they want an apology, an explanation, a confession, a moment of regret. And while those things can help, you cannot build your healing on something another person may never give. If they are avoidant, selfish, emotionally immature, or simply unable to face themselves, you may wait forever. Do not make your peace depend on their level of consciousness. Closure is beautiful when it comes, but inner closure is still possible without outer closure. Sometimes closure is saying, I see clearly what happened. I accept that I may never get the answer I wanted. I stop waiting at a door that will not open. That too is a sacred moment. A quiet one. A strong one. And now maybe you ask, but what if I still love them? Then love them from afar. Love them without access. Love them without surrendering your peace. Love does not always mean staying. And sometimes what we call love is attachment, hope, trauma bonding, or fear of being alone. Be honest, do you love who they really are? Or are you attached to how they made you feel in their best moments? Do you miss their character? Or do you miss the relief, intensity, or meaning they once gave you? These questions matter because real healing requires reality, not fantasy, not selective memory, not emotional hunger dressed up as destiny. And if you're the kind of person who feels deeply, let me tell you something important. Your softness is not the problem. Your heart is not the problem. Your ability to love is not the problem. The problem is when that love is given without wisdom, without boundaries, and without self-protection. Do not become hard. Become clear. Do not become cold. There is a big difference. A healed heart is not a locked heart. It is a wise heart. A heart that can love without losing itself. A heart that can care without chasing. A heart that can feel pain without becoming pain. So tonight or this morning or whenever you are hearing these words, I want you to pause and ask yourself one final question. What am I still holding that is now hurting? Is it the hope that they will change? Is it the need for revenge? Is it the need to be understood? Is it the habit of checking on them? Is it the story that because you are hurt, you are broken? Whatever it is, look at it gently, and then say to yourself, this was once part of my survival, but it is no longer the path to my peace. That sentence can change a life, because healing is not betrayal of your pain. Healing is the next step after honoring it. You have suffered enough. You do not need to prove how deeply you were hurt by continuing to bleed forever. You do not need to carry the memory like a stone to prove that it mattered. It mattered, you mattered. Now your healing matters too, So if you remember nothing else from this message, remember this. Name the real wound. Stop feeding the loop. Separate forgiveness from access. Build a self that is bigger than the pain. This is the path, slow, human, imperfect, but real. Some days you will feel strong. Some days the memory will return like a storm. A storm is not failure. A wave is not weakness. Healing is not a straight line. It is a practice of returning again and again to your own center, back to your breath, back to your body, back to truth, back to self-respect, back to the life that is still waiting for you. One day, perhaps sooner than you think, you will speak their name without bitterness. You will remember without collapsing. You will see that what once felt like the end of your peace was actually the beginning of your awakening. And on that day, you will understand something beautiful. You did not let go because they deserved it. You let go because you deserved peace. If this message met you in a painful place, let it also meet you in a hopeful one. Your heart is tired, yes, but it is not finished. Your trust may be wounded, yes, but your capacity for joy is not gone. Your story has pain in it, yes, but pain is not the whole story. Sit quietly for a moment after this. Put your hand on your heart. Take one slow breath in and one slow breath out. Then say, softly, I release what keeps me in pain. I keep the lesson. I return to myself. That is where healing begins, and that is where your new life starts.